Alright, currently headed to the shop, and as I'm driving, I'm sitting here thinking if there's anything that we have to do that we can bring to the channel for this weekend. Because right now, the stuff we're working on, we're just buttoning some things up, finalizing a couple things, finish welding, stuff like that. So, you know, I'm sitting here pondering what we can do in the meantime while we're waiting for the body to come back, as you guys know. And we just ordered some of the electrical components, so we're waiting for that to get in to start plumbing and electrical. So, you know, I'm just sitting here thinking if there's anything that we can bring to y'all. And as I noted in the last video, Dad and I are really big into the look and the shine. And when I purchased the turbos, obviously you can buy the compressor housing polished already, but you know, it was a deal that I came across, and I figured if I do decide to polish them, that we can do it ourselves. So we always got stuff that we can do, and but I feel like this would be the perfect opportunity to start conquering that. So while I'm buttoning some things up, I'm gonna see if Dad will you know, kind of take that upon himself and get that little project kicked off. So I'm thinking about starting to polish the compressor side of the turbos here this weekend. And you know, I polished some things in the past, some pistol slides and things like that that have been bead blasted. So similar but a little bit different. So it's going to be some trial and error. And if you've ever polished anything, or you're planning on it or thinking about it, you can watch this video and hopefully get some what to do's and what not to do's. But like I said, it's going to be some trial and error, and it's going to be a messy process. I know that. So I hope Dad's willing, and here in about 20 miles we'll find out. So if you want to see the before and after, stay tuned and see how it turns out. So I don't believe Dad's exactly chomping at the bit to polish the turbos, because as you can see, it's just me down here right now. So we're going to try to motivate him a little bit and actually get it started ourselves, start taking these things apart. And if you don't retain from the one of our first vlogs that we rolled out, these are a set of 94 millimeter Gen 2 precision turbos, 115 AR V-band setup. So our goal here is to make these things look pretty, get them all shined up. And it is going to be tough in some of these little crevices, and to get down in there and get it all done, it's going to take a little time, but I think they'll be looking pretty good once we get her all done and look really good under the hood. So we're going to go ahead and start taking them apart.
Shout across, probably about 4 or 5 yards short of the line of scrimmage. Why don't you put his foot in the ground, get north and south, and pick up that yardage? Shake, they try to make it some moves, got north and south, and pick up that first down.
Loves to go to Barrett Bannister on 3rd down, and he did there. Keeps this drive alive. Basilak looks to option pitch. Inside the 10-yard line goes Jalen Knox.
This being part of
straight hand off the Roundtree, trying to hit the corner, and he does. Touchdown. 30.
Alright, so this is what we're polishing the compressor side here. So the rest of this stuff, the turbine side, we don't need. So there you have it. They're ready for you. Here we are. We've got kind of the rough taken off of it. We used 40 and 60 grit. I don't necessarily think, and you can look on YouTube all day and Google or whatever, and everybody's going to have a different method to the madness, but I don't really think particularly. I think about the best advice that I could give is just use what works. Start out by just knocking it down. We started, like I said, with the 60 and 80 grit, so did a little bit by hand, did a little bit with the pad, and then we also used the Dremel to kind of get down here in the cracks with different bits. So it was somewhat nerve-wracking, but it's pretty soft, pretty light on it, and it got down in there real nice. And then I'm running the sandpaper down in there after. So this is kind of what the first one looks like, and then we're just going to keep using the lighter grit, till we get down to the point where we're polishing it and making it clean. So that's where we're at now, and I think we did a pretty good job. We got to get another little tool to get down in here. It's been kind of tough, but for the most part, we're where we need to be to start changing grit now. So we're down to, we're using the 80 grit and we're using 100 grit. My opinion, this is probably the most important part to knock down what we didn't get with the 40 and 60, and to get all the scratches out. So this is probably going to be the most time-consuming portion. We also found that these Brillo pads work really nice, as you can see here, to get not only to get some of the deeper scratches out, but to also give it a decent finish before you start rolling into the 400s, 800s, 1000s, 2000s, and then buffing. So right now what I plan to do is just keep rolling with the 180 until my fingers fall off, and then start utilizing the Brillo pad, and then going to some lower grit and then buffing it. So it's coming along pretty good though, really. It's gonna take some time, but we're getting there. All right, I was talking earlier how it was kind of tough to get up in here, get to this side down here, get to that side, and then just getting up in that little crease there in that crevice. So being innovative, I might patent and start selling these. I just took a little flathead screwdriver and took whatever grit sandpapers. That's the best thing about it, is it's universal. You can use just about whatever grit you want. Change it. Use some good old duct tape, and you can get up in here a little bit better. Takes some work, like it all does, but it gets up in there, and you can kind of go down that crease, get up in there quite a bit easier. So just a little trick for those of you who have either done this or are intending on doing so. Flathead screwdriver, some sandpaper, and duct tape. Alright, so here's after 80 and 100. Now we're going to roll on to using the scuff pad, and then we'll start probably go kind of take a step back, because really what we're going to be using this for is just to get those fine scratches that we put in it with 180. So we'll take this out, and then we'll take a step back, and I think we're going to actually try and skip a couple. So we'll either do 320 or 400, and then probably 800, 1,000, 2,000, then buff. So we're getting pretty close. And that little tool that I made on the flathead worked pretty good. There's a little bit down in the very crease down there that we got to get a little better, but for the most part, I think he did pretty good. And then we're going to save the lettering till last, because that's going to take something. I'm going to have to come up with something to get in between those letters, because I like all that polish. But here's our assortment of different sanding paper over here and pads. So we got 320 here, got plenty of that, and then 220. I think we might go ahead and skip that. We'll see what happens, because I think this pad's gonna knock it down pretty quick. So we're gonna use a 320, and then 400, and I guess I forgot the 6, 8,000, and then I forgot 15 as well, and then 2,000. So hopefully these pads are gonna take out a lot of that work though. So hopefully it's go a little bit quicker. See what happens.
Doing something, but
Well, I don't know if it's gonna knock it down like this does, is it? Dad's been chomping at the bit to take over on these turbos. You're up. Now that I got all the hard work out of the way. But while he's doing that, these are the window frames. This is one of the first things that we put together, and fabbed up and made. So I'm just trying to finish them up. Just got a little finish welding to do on them. We did make a change and adjustment. We put these rod ends right here. So these will so the window will mount to the outside of this. For those of you who don't know and haven't seen this before, the Lexan window will bolt right up to the outside. So this will be the outside, this is the inside, and this will attach to the inside of the door. And we put the rod ends on it, and so that way if we ever need to pull the window in or out, we can do so. So we got that adjustment in and out just a little bit, and to close those gaps if ever need be. Here's the other one, and that's what we had on at first. You see it's just tacked on there, haven't been finished yet, but we just gotta finish weld those, and they've been hanging out and waiting for a while now, and that's what I'm gonna work on. So I'm gonna knock that out today while Dad's finishing up this one turbo. Alright, there's 320 and a little bit of 220 as well. We found with the pad that it kinda, I don't have it sitting here anymore, but with that pad we found that when it gets kinda gummed up on there, it'll leave some deep pits. So, and I actually didn't have any more. So if you do decide to use pads like that one, just be careful. Make sure you're checking the pad every so often. So we're gonna have to wait to get some more. So we're back to doing it all by hand. But I did a little test spot here, and this one's pretty close. But we still got a little work to do on that part, but that's kind of what we're going for. So make it a little bit better, but it's getting closer. We are back at it. As y'all notice, this video is going to roll over a little bit. We're no longer in the shop. We're actually at our home, my personal garage, and had to get back for work. You'll notice that it's an absolute mess in here. Got quite a few other little projects going and all my hunting stuff, a little bit of everything. But we felt that it was a good opportunity to be able to do something on the car while after work and stuff like that. So we're gonna get back to working on these turbos, getting them polished up, getting ready to look pretty. So let's get to it. Getting closer to that finish line. We started out by cutting everything down, getting that rough edge off, and then we went from that to 60 grit to 80, 100, 220, 320, 400, 600, and what y'all are looking at now, this is 800. So it's starting to shine up pretty good. From 800, we're going 1,000, and then we're going 1,500, and then we're gonna go and finish it up with 2,000. And after that, obviously, we're gonna buff it and get it real nice and shiny. So if you're in the process of polishing a set of turbos or anything for that matter, my advice to you is just ensuring that you get good coverage on everything. Go over everything 2, 3, 4 times to make sure you got it all cut down and as smooth as possible. As you get to those higher grits, what you're gonna notice is there's stuff left behind. Either areas that you missed, 1 or 2 deeper cuts that were left behind from the previous grits that you've utilized. So don't get discouraged, stick with it. I've done it multiple times throughout this process on this compressor housing myself. And, you know, I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to look perfect. And, you know, just taking that time, taking a break, walking away from it for a little bit if you need to. But, you know, you may have to take those couple steps back. You may have to go from that 800 back to 600 or even 400 and then repeat the process to get back to that higher grit. But we're going to finish it up with the 2,000, and then we're actually going to go ahead and buff the whole thing. And then after that, we're once again going to take a step back because there's some areas, these tough to reach areas down in here and these crevices and things like that. We've gotten it a little bit, you can see there, but we're actually going to look for a tool, find a tool to get down in there a little bit easier, and then we're going to repeat the same process with that till that high grit and then go through and buff that as well. So we're getting a lot closer to that finish line. It's already starting to look pretty good, and we're excited to get it buffed and get it looking like a mirror. Finish it up with the 2,000. Whole thing's done. Now we're going to get to the fun part. We're going to start polishing it. We got 2 different types. We got some cutting compound here that we're going to start out with, and then we're going to do the finished compound for polishing and making it look nice and pretty. So here we go. Fun part begins. consider that a wrap on polishing the turbos. As you can see, I'm back here at the shop now, no longer at my place. Had to get back here and want to get all this stuff because we got to mock a couple things up. So we concluded it. I'm not going to tell you that I'm 100% done on this one, but we wanted to get to the point where we're starting to work on this one as well so we can get it all back on the car. So I do got a little bit left to do on here on this compressor housing, the one that's currently shiny. Yeah, for a lot of people it may look good enough, and it does look really good, don't get me wrong, but there are a couple areas that I'm just not 100% set on. So I'm going to go through it one more time, and it's just going to be some little light sanding here and there and some buffing. But we've actually already had this one back on the car just to kind of see what it looked like, and I'll post a video of that as well. But we just wanted to show you the before and after, and that's why I decided to go ahead and conclude it, because we want to get started on this one as well, other than the fact that we got to mock some stuff up. But we wanted to get started on this one, knocking it down so I could take it back with me and start polishing it up too. But a couple of things that I didn't show on the video is just getting down in these corners like this. So I did it really very similar to the way I did the end of the flathead screwdriver, where I taped the sandpaper on there. I did that with the Dremel as well. We put some sandpaper on there and it was a little bit easier to get down in there. We got to figure out a little bit better way to get a buffer down in there to make it shiny, but looks pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and get started on the other one as soon as, actually I'll probably have to do it all left-handed, because I could go rob a bank right now and I'd get away with it because I have no fingerprint left. But once I get those back, I'm going to get started on the other one and get that one nice and shiny as well. And then that's a wrap completely on polishing the compressor side of the turbo. So we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you like the way it turned out. I definitely like it a lot better shiny than just that flat bead blast look on there. So we appreciate y'all tuning in. And if you have any questions with it, you're doing it on your own, reach out. Like I said, I don't feel that there's any specific perfect way to do it. It's just kind of what works for you. So just start with that high grit and work your way down, and or that low grit and work your way down till it gets to the point where you're ready to rock and roll and buff it. So that's all I got. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time. God bless.